Yellow, yellow, yellow. Today is going to be a little bit different because today I'm going to show you something that I actually should have posted to tell everyone I know because, well, this is a pretty decent opportunity to make some income and a pretty decent opportunity to be part of a new kind of wave of IoT connected devices. So what I'm talking about here is actually Helium. As you can see here in the top right left of the browser, you can see that. The name of this cryptocurrency or this devices. So Helium is basically an incentivized model how you can create a IoT network with these types of devices as a single proprietor or a person who just has a home and an internet connection. You can be part of creating a network of connected devices that are going to create a IoT map so that we can have devices connected to each other. If you're not familiar with IoT, I tried to find some stupid picture that explains it, but nothing really matches it. Basically, what we're looking at right now in the world of the internet is we're looking at the fringes of what the internet can do. And the more devices are going to come online, the IPs and let's say every single device you have here, computer, whatever, has an IP address, and that's going to not match anymore because we have less IP addresses than devices. And what this will turn into is that we need to create a whole new structure of internet because so many new devices will come online, from coffee machines to speakers to, let's say, street lights, red lights, video cameras. All kinds of things are going to become digitized, and they need to become part of a larger network because they need to communicate with every single thing. And a lot of these devices will not need to have a fancy internet connection like you and me are using right now to utilize and connect with the internet. They just need to be able to send out packages, or need to send out here I am, or need to send out basic data, which is not going to suffice to set up every single device with a 3G or a 4G or a 5G or with a hardline internet. And same as you might not want to have them connected to your Wi-Fi for whatever reason, as that sometimes creates security issues, as you can see with people hacking banks through their air cons. So what is this actually supposed to be? Like, if you look at Helium in a general terms, it's you are going to create a LoRa 1 network of connected devices that can be utilized for IoT purposes. So in the Netherlands, we have quite a lot already. I'm actually making this video for some of my friends in Ireland who want to maybe jump onto this. In generality, you can with a small device, as you can see these, and a antenna, either the built-in ones or the one that you might hang on yourself. I will tell a little bit about it. You can create a map of devices that connect. I can show you here if you want to see. You can actually see it, like all these little dots are devices that are creating a map, even in the middle of the ocean for whatever reason. So as you can see here, a lot of new hotspots are coming on. This has to do with the fact that even for me, I bought this device in January. It didn't come here because it was stuck on some boat and it was stuck in production until a couple of weeks ago. I tested it out and I see my income exponentially growing due to the fact that we now have multiple devices running. And I want you to see that this can be something that you can do as well. In the beginning of the internet, or the beginning of the crypto surge, I was stupid enough not to buy Bitcoins. And I was stupid enough to look at Ethereum miners in like 2015, 2016, and looking at, okay, can I make money out of this? And at that point, it was very fringe in looking at electricity, internet cost, and device cost. You were not making a lot of money every month. You made a little bit, but it wasn't really going to be substantial. If you look at it, this H&T devices or Helium devices, they are quite, even conservatively, quite good producers of crypto. And they don't use a lot of energy, and the devices are not crazy costs. The only problem right now you have is getting your hands on one of these. As I said, it's now August. I bought these things in January and took them a whole lot of time to actually come here. Why is this so interesting? If you look at the team, they're already operating since 2013. Some of the names might not be as familiar, but these are all legit people. I looked every single one of them up on LinkedIn, looked at their background here. Fellow Dutchie, hello, Mark. And these are people that are all active within Silicon Valley, within internet, creating internet things, creating wireless networks. Some of them work for Cisco. Like, I've looked every single person that is listed on this site, on LinkedIn, looked at their experiences, and every single one of them has worked for legitimate businesses within San Francisco, the Palo Alto scene, Silicon Valley scene, and beyond. These were all big corporate people that are behind it, and some of them might be familiar to you. Look at them if you have the time. But these are all people that make me feel, okay, this is not some scam. Like, a lot of in crypto, there's a lot of random scams going on, and a lot of stuff that doesn't get really utilized, but in the beginning might make some big bucks. So why is this so interesting for you? With a simple device, as you can see here, you can actually make quite some bucks. And I don't need to tell you here, you can see the list of all the devices that you actually would buy. From all the research we've done, Bobcats are great. They have fast delivery time. We are using Nebras because Nebras were just the fastest to be able to deliver it. But the best one from at least everything that I've read is the Rack Wireless. So here is a Bobcat, which it says order now, but this is gonna take months. Like, if you go to their order pages, you might get details on when they're actually going to deliver, because it's not gonna happen here. Estimated time is 12 to 20 weeks, so that is gonna take you a time. Make sure that you pick the right version for whatever place you are in the world, so that you have a device that actually will work in your area. Same as we use the Nebras, those were just the fastest to be able to deliver it. But if you want to buy and you take the time out and are willing to wait, these rack hotspots are actually the ones that are the best. And as you can see here, other devices come in, antennas, and all kinds of things to build onto these. But even a basic will already do pretty good. And if you take the money out and you take the time to invest, I would definitely look into the antennas, but I'll tell a little bit about that beyond. As you can see here, most of them have standard antennas, and then stuff starts happening here where you see these 5-point, 8-point DBIs, and I'll tell a little bit about it. I'll try to be as concise as possible. Which one we are using is the Nebra with a micro tick antenna that works in our region, 6.5, because of the location I am actually in. That looks like this. Not as so interesting, but why is it so interesting for, let's say, an Irish person? If you look at where I am located in the Netherlands, it's quite crowded. And from what we did, the estimates that we looked at in the beginning, when we were purchasing these devices, again, there were not that many hotspots at that time. There may maybe 30,000 of these things online at that point, but that was January, and now you can see all these developers are building new devices, and they're all coming online because people who understand this know, okay, this is pretty a good opportunity to make a decent buck. So in Dublin, you might be interested. I'll show you one in Amsterdam, and you can understand why this is so interesting to do. So as you can see here in Amsterdam, there's quite some things already online. And the fun thing is you can see exactly each device that is currently running. So if you take just any point in the map where you are and you look at like, hey, is there somebody in my neighborhood doing this? Because basically how it works is you generate a signal that covers a specific area depending on the antenna, the location, the speed of your internet, and that is going to reach other devices. Preferably the more devices that you will be able to reach, the higher your wins will be, or your gains will be once you are online. And as you can see here, these people, and I'm just going to open up a random thing, made anywhere, and actually you see now where it's all connected to, made anywhere between $24 and $890 in the last 24 hours and 30 days. This is all publicly open data, so you can look at your location and see, hey, might this be interesting? And depending on your location, your income might be lower than others. Like we did conservatively look at devices. As you can see here, one is completely out on its own. I don't think it's running a long time. It's still being relayed, but that's a whole different thing. But completely on its own, it made $5, but it's not only been running since August 6th. Let's find something that is a little bit stronger already. Come on, holy basil tuna. Where is our baseline? Yeah, the baseline we were looking at was this guy, I think, or him. You really only making this? It's offline. All right, basically, that being said, we looked at a baseline because the area where we were is not that well established in terms of connections. And you looked at some people that were making pretty good money in between, let's say, $600 to $1,800 a month for having a device that only will cost you about 30 euros a year in electricity costs. So it takes 10 watts or 15 watts, depending on which device you have, and the calculation of what I did on the basis of my electricity cost, which is like 12 euro cents per kilowatt. It was about 30 euros a year, so it's not really something I'm gonna cry over compared to, let's say, an Ethereum miner, which might be a lot more expensive. Bringing it into the Irish friends, if you look at, for example, somewhere in Dublin, and I actually looked at this prior because I wanted to see for a friend of mine who has a place here. As you can see, this person in Dublin, in the city center, actually raked in $1,346 a month. So these devices, each and every one of them is range 300 to 500 euros, maybe, add another 100 euros on top of it for antenna if you really want to make it maximize, and that's your sunk cost, 30 euros a month and a little bit of your internet. I don't really feel any change in my internet, so it doesn't really take a lot of data packages. The internet is mostly to create packages, but I don't see any slowdown in my speed. And I blocked it off from the rest of my router so I can see what's going on. But that's how you can make gains, by just creating a signal. A thing that you can see here, he just uses a standard antenna, but he's pretty high up. So what makes a difference for you if you want to be part of these things? So let's say you have more friends in Ireland who live in a little bit more empty spaces. So in an empty space, so you're not in a big city, your gains might not be that big. This guy is also not running that much, but that's depending a lot on speed of your internet, the location you're in, and the setup that you have running. So that depends. As you can see, most of these are just standard antennas. And I explained to you that we use a little bit bigger antennas because you can reach longer range, reach more devices, and depending on where you are, you can really make a good income. One of these other locations, let's pick one that's actually making a pretty decent buck. So this guy in Galway, look at that. That could be yours if you set this up right. What do you need to do? What do you need to know? What do you need to have? One of these. Then check where they are available for purchase, check where they are going to be shipped out from, and check your local locality if you're allowed to actually have these devices. If you have one of these and you potentially put a different, bigger antenna on it, you can have one or multiple devices, depending on how many locations you have, a set of miners running for you that are continually going to create this network and continually going to create a income of helium in your wallet, which you can push into Binance or any other market and sell them and utilize them straight into euros, dollars, or even crypto, depending on what you want to do with it. That's literally how easy it is. And setup wasn't that crazy. You got the little app to actually just connect with the device or any of the other devices. You set it up, link it with your internet, link it with your Ethernet, and then link it with the built-in antenna or the bigger antenna that you might want to purchase that you set in. It's synchronized to the blockchain, and once it's synchronized, it actually starts sending out packages and starts sending out the signal. And that's where you are going to create a potentially interesting income for you and your family. Look, what I would do if I was you, look at the different devices that are available out there. Look at how fast they can ship. Look at your current location. Are you able to have some other devices within your range? Are there other people already involved into this program? And how much would you potentially be able to get your investment back for? In highly densely populated areas, definitely interesting. A little less dense populated areas might not be that interesting. But as the setup, what we did, for example, like this guy, how long he's been running, like he makes $50. He's very low. His antenna is pretty shit, still being relayed. But what we looked at, and maybe this is a little bit a better example. What we looked at conservatively, hey, we're not going to make a big thing, but if it's 100 euros a month, that's 100 euros a month. That's going to pay off the price of the device pretty fast. And if you buy multiple devices, let's say you have family, friends in the neighborhood, you have people living high up, preferably high up, and you can really put these in between and you can create your own little map. And once you create that own little map, everyone in that map is now going to potentially gain some income out of it, which is just an interesting thing because there's so many places that are just completely empty or not as well developed as you can see. And there's lots of devices that are still waiting to go online. Lots of devices need to be set up. Lots of places still need to be covered, especially if you live in a big city. I would look at these things and figure out, okay, where can I potentially put this? Because this, as I said when I showed you first, that is 30 days. And you're not doing anything. You logged in, you linked it to your internet, you bought the device, and this is daily now falling into your lap for a little bit of effort, setting up maybe an antenna, setting up a device, and then sharing your internet. That's all it literally is. I looked at the antennas, I looked at the signals. It's all safe for humans. There's nothing crazy. We've put it up here. I'm pretty sensitive myself, so I don't feel here have any crazy feelings from this where I was like, okay, it's still an antenna. It still sends out signals that might interfere with your brainwaves or whatever. I have no effect from it so far. The caveat I would have to add into, if you would put up a external antenna, trying to find something, so just a random, this is just your internal, this is your standard antenna that we're going to be delivered with your box, or you add on a external antenna. As you can see, people have set these up, is you might need to look at setting these things up, and you might need to look at a, what you call this, lightning disruptor. Depending on where you are, you might need to add a lightning disruptor just to make sure that you're not going to get hit by lightning. But that completely depends where you are and what's your surroundings, and depending on if your surroundings are like, if you're in a busy neighborhood, most likely there's no big deal. But if you're going to be the only person in a field of cows, yeah, you are probably going to get something out. And then you can either put the lightning protector or surge protector in between to just make sure that you don't fry your electricity in your house and potentially everything else in your house, which is just not happy. So far, I think if you are looking into these, potentially these are really great devices. You can really build something, and it should be a sideline for whatever you're doing. I'm putting these things in. I'm taking all the wins that I'm making, putting them to DevI so that we can just rake up percentage on top of that. But don't miss out on this opportunity. Again, as I said in the beginning, I looked at Ethereum miners 2016, 2017. I didn't buy them. I completely want to kick myself in the nuts for that. Obviously, I held Ethereum, which was funny, but I did not buy the devices because of the sunk cost and the cost of electricity at that point in time. These things are a very low-key investment and very easy to operate in terms of it's a app. Yeah, you might run into a little bit of errors, but that's not hardcore coding. It's not fancy things. If you have the device, an internet connection, and a location, and preferably multiple locations in your neighborhood, this is a good deal to start off with and generate a sideline income. So far, so good. That was the Helium network. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to drop me a message and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.